I think Origen kind of caught people off guard as well. Like, they were probably the best team at lane swapping when the split began, and they pretty much made no mistakes and just were able to translate it into wins because it was the exact same way they did in Challenger scene. But people were like, nah, they play Challenger teams, they're not gonna do that in LCS kind of thing. I do think they're like a top 3 team, but now like they had troubles against Rocket last week, so it obviously shows they have some weakness.
Welcome back, everyone. Our next match is between two teams built by 2014 European champions FLICKR and Origen versus Froggen, who we just heard from, and Elements. First, let's dial into Origen with Soaz amazing, FLICKR in the mid lane, then Nils, Mithy, and Leduc. As said, after a flawless start in the first couple of weeks, a couple of losses under their belt now, and in this one they are up against Elements, who haven't quite found as much success as Origen yet this split, with JWoww, Dexter, Froggen, Tabs, Promise Q, and Nif. So, looking at both teams, maybe starting with Origen, because yesterday they had that huge matchup versus Fnatic. They did better, in my opinion, playing from behind, although they were down 1,500 gold at 20 minutes. I feel like there was a little bit more bounce to their step after being behind than it was versus Roccat.
I just feel like it was a nice game to watch, and both teams showed why they're so good at the game. And they took Fnatic to lengths. Yes, Fnatic eventually came out on top, but yeah, Cyanide's former teammates looked strong, and they might actually end up beating my former teammate. Not looking forward to that one.
Maybe. A lot of speculation we've done about, well, you know, what is OG's view on the macro level of the game, or when they get later in the game and they have those big decisions to make. In my opinion, they are still untested. What do you guys think?
I kind of agree with you there. Like, I think the strong point of Origen is like the early game and like the aggression they put out, which I think is going to work really well against Elements, because Elements really struggle in the early. They don't really do anything, and that's just going to get their Nexus destroyed.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Elements have been playing very, very slow, and both of their victories, they had an incredibly slow early game. The one game they got off Roccat, I believe, slowest first spot in the LCS, and then we have to go back all the way to week 1, where they almost lost the game against a tower push from Gambit, but eventually they got rolling and they got that scaling in there. But yeah, it's sloppy, lacking. The only person really with a bit of initiative is Dexter right now in that lineup, whereas if you look at Origen, everybody's bringing it to the table, except maybe FLICKR, but they didn't really need him all too much so far.
Yeah, if we take a look at the stats for that early game, Elements, 16 kills and 25 deaths in the first 15 minutes. Origen, 28 kills and 19 deaths in the first 15 minutes. A lot, of course, of those deaths coming of the games, the 2 they just lost. But logically speaking, Elements should have a super hard time in this matchup. Are you expecting anything else coming out of them?
No, I just think that probably Origen is going to get the early lead and snowball over them. However, like always when you play aggressive, it can backfire. Maybe Dexter is at a really good location to counter gank Amazing or something like that, or they just go for the Dragon. So I think like maybe a good counter gank by Dexter can really turn the game around, but otherwise I think Origen will take this pretty easily.
And there's surprisingly little hype around the mid lane matchup here, FLICKR against Froggen, whereas if you would have asked that like a year ago or 2 years ago, like that was the pinnacle matchup right now, but we see Elements struggling a little bit, and Origen saying we're not a mid lane centric team, so it's kind of surprising to see like 2 legends in the mid lane face off and there be relatively little hype about it. It's more about the teams, about the the way they play and they approach the game rather than just that specific matchup.
Yeah, maybe they decide to go legendary in this one. We will see. Now, before we head over to the desk, let's see what you wanted to ask Cyanide from @Porukan. If pulling a Mad Life is predicting dodges with a hook, what would be pulling a Cyanide? This.
Holy shit.
Very clever. Looks very clever. But probably like Baron stealing. I'm really hard trying to come up with something witty here, but I can't. So stealing a Baron, Drake, whatever.
Judging plays by human body parts.
Yeah.
Pulling a Cyanide.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
There we go. And with that, the stage is definitely set. So we're going to kick it over to the casters for picks and bans.
Nipples.
Thank you very much, Shocks. We'll see if anybody can pull a Cyanide this game. But I do want to reiterate what Crepo was saying. You know, FLICKR versus Froggen, this was one of the marquee matchups. You go back a couple of years, throw an Alexich into the mix, and that would have been the default.
Oh, mid laners, top laners.
Bjergsen was one of the up-and-comers.
Yeah.
The thing is, can old dogs learn new tricks? That's the question. Froggen has not necessarily done a whole lot. His Echo has been impressive.
Same for FLICKR, though.
Team's not worked around it.
I feel like both mid laners. I mean, FLICKR, as we talk about so often, Origen is not playing around him in the mid lane. They don't need him to do super well. He lost the laning phase yesterday against Forbidden in the Azir Victor matchup. Froggen individually, I feel like he's had good games, especially on Echo. He's Vladimir yesterday once he got to the late game. But he's also like, he's the vocal point of this team here. And he was the guy saying on the analyst desk how, yes, I know we play passive, but it's the only way we're winning. So he thinks, or he feels like this is a good style for Elements, but it's also one of the reasons they've lost so many games, because they just fall so far behind and do nothing the first 20 minutes.
All right, we'll find out if they can find a higher gear this time around. Kalista, one of those champions that you've talked about high priority. I feel like, yes, these are fairly targeted bans. Promiscu undefeated on the Alistar. Mithy's had some great Alistar performances. You know, Kalista's a strong priority for actually both of these teams, really. What is left up? Junglers untouched.
Do we
Mid
need to say the
laners
AD carry?
untouched.
Good old Civi.
First pick worthy?
Against Elements? Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen now is if Elements decides to ban a tier 1 jungler, they might get Origen to first pick the other jungler there and therefore get the Sivir for them, which I think is super important for how passive they play the early games. That's exactly what Elements are doing. They're telling Origen, if you don't take that Rek'Sai now, we're going to grab it for Dexter on our side, and then you can get your Sivir, but at least we get something. We traded. There are other strong picks open as well. I mean, Jace has been banned quite a lot. We've seen it a few times. I think it's a strong pick here on 5-11. I don't know if Elements want to play it, but they're going to get the Rek'Sai instead. So I like the last ban on the Gragas here.
And of course, Dexter's been the man that's really been carrying Elements. I think he's had some of the better performances across the board, across most of the games. And I still think Froggen played very well. Yesterday's Vladimir was very impressive in the late game. It took a long time to get there, but there was no pressure from Elements. They weren't under a rush from Roccat.
And they will be here. They will be here.
Origen a lot more aggressive.
A lot more, and also taking away the Sivir, you remove a key wave clear factor from Elements, and you get that ability to control the tempo of the game. You can now fast push, you can engage fights very easily with the Sivir ulti. So that's why I really like the pickup from Origen, even though it means they get a second tier jungler for Amazing. I still think it's very worth it with how Elements have been playing and how important I think that pick is for them.
Find out.
I like it. If you go Azir now and you get Azir, Sivir, and Nuno, you have a fantastic team composition for both the early game in terms of you have safe lanes, and your team fights are going to be very, very strong. Good scaling to the late game and a lot of ways you can play around it. Nuno also specializes in shutting down the enemy jungler, making him as useless as Nuno is himself. And that's one of the reasons we have seen it before into a Rek'Sai.
The thing is, yesterday, FLICKR did play that Azir. It did not go well for him. That was against Febiven's Victor. We know Froggen also likes to play Victor, has tried that himself. Instead, FLICKR is going to go to a champion that has worked for him, and he's locking in a fairly early Vladimir. This is a change. Traditionally, that's been in reply to what his opponents are putting on the board.
Yeah, I think maybe he was afraid of Froggen going Vladimir as a last pick into the Azir. It's a matchup we've seen a few times where the Vladimir, at least later on in the game, does really well. You can also pool under the ulti of Azir, but I still feel like that would have been a better pick, unless, of course, this Vladimir goes to the top lane. I mean, it is technically a flex pick. We've seen Youngbuck play Vlad top a few times, but let's see what Origen decides to do later on. Elements now cannot fall in the same trap we have seen time and time again, where they pick low wave clear, no pressure in the early game. They have the Rek'Sai, that's a great start. They have a top laner who can rush a Trinity Force, that's another good start for them. Let's see what AD carry we get for taps.
Well, Corki does appear to be locked in. There is some of that wave clear you were talking about. Another Trinity Force spike. And the Morgana. It is, of course, one of the highest win ratio champions at the moment. I think we said it was 11 wins, 2 losses, if memory serves correctly. And that's going to be landing in Promiscu's hands. Froggen giving himself the chance to pick whatever he wants into Origen, as Origen will be locking in most likely the mid lane and support.
Very standard for Elements. I believe they are the team in Europe who last picks the mid laner the most often, and that's what we have seen time and time again when you have Froggen on the team here. Corki, Forgiven, didn't go for it last game. He wanted the Lucian to be a bully against the Sivir in lane. Taps is probably going to have to sit back. He's not in the best lane matchup for himself, and I'm saying that even before seeing the potential support pick for Origen. But if they do lock in the likes of a Fizz, they can also decide to swap against the Hecarim if there's no smite from JWoww, and simply try and dodge around that one. And Annie is, of course, fantastic at roaming early on as well. So there's multiple options in how Origen wants to play this early game.
Yeah, We have seen that will, of course, be Soaz as Fizz up in the top lane. So we know their team composition has now been rounded out. Nunu's not necessarily going to have the greatest of targets to blood boil, but both Fizz and Sivir will be greatly appreciative of the movement speed and attack speed. What does Froggen pick into this very, very frustrating set of targets? Vlad and Fizz going to duck and dive, and Sivir's going to run around in circles.
So you have Corki AD carry that can open up potentially for Jace, and you have an absolutely fantastic mid-game spike. Sadly, then you have the Hecarim top lane, so you will be stacking a lot of physical damage. There's going to be a problem later on in the game. We know Source is going to stack armor. We know Amazing is going to do the same. But that would give Element a chance to try and battle Origen early in the game and not have to wait for late game. Because at the moment, I mean, the Corki, of course, isn't scaling that well to the late game. Nunu as well, fairly good in the late game himself in terms of buffing up other people. So... oh well, I mean, it's hard to call Nunu good in the late game, but like he's blood boil.
It
It's
really sounds
pretty
like
good.
You don't like Nunu.
I had a 3v3 match with Power of Evil where he forced me to play Nunu because I was so useless. But I won, but it gave me new hate somewhat for it.
The only other person that I've heard speak with such disdain about a champion was Kobe at MSI, but we'll get back to that in a moment. Froggen has opted into the Azir versus Vladimir matchup. It's one that Xpeke has won 2 out of the 3 times he's played it.
Yeah, and the one I feel like Xpeke was trying to dodge by taking the Vladimir himself, because Azir would have fit in so well for Origen in many ways.
Well, we'll find out whose plan will backfire, as we are going to be loading up onto the Rift in just a moment or two. Great, great play thus far from Origen up until their 2 losses recently. A little bit of cracks in the armor are starting to show through, and Elements, they picked up a win yesterday. Picked up a win that they'll be hoping to duplicate today with their 2-team composition. So let us know who you think is going to be winning this one. Open up your Twitter and let us know. Origen, team that is currently 3rd in the league. Can they pick up another win?
Well, I don't think Element is going to challenge them that much in the early game compared to what we have seen before, at least.
Well, we'll find out, because of course for Origen it's all about finding the aggression. For Elements, it's about figuring out if they can handle the aggression. We're loading up onto the Rift for the last time here in week 4. And let's find out whether or not these teams are pretenders or contenders. It's Origen versus Elements.
And just reading some of the Twitter comments from some of the Elements players after they managed to win yesterday, it was very clear it meant so much to them. They had some bad games, some bad weeks, and suddenly they managed to turn it around at least a little bit. I want to see if that confidence has done something. At least we see more wave clear coming from them. Froggen in the laning phase on this Azir will do fine. The Vladimir, once he gets a bit of scaling going in, he can be a bit annoying, but I feel like it's a skill matchup in this mid lane here. But Froggen can push it into the tower of Xpeke here, and that's gonna hopefully open up some options for Dexter to play a bit more aggressive. Taps is gonna place a ward. Let's see if Origen can kill it. Once it puts down, it becomes very predictable with these invades in here. If you want to try and spot the early swaps, and that's why they were just waiting around the corner here. They're not trying to kill Taps or anything. They just want his ward.
So you can teach old dogs new tricks. It's amazing as Soaz waited to kill that ward. It's not something we see in, I think, at all, but small advantage to Origen. Doing touch on the fact Mithy is running that coin as the starting item.
Minions has
We'll see how quickly he can get to upgrade or roam around. Mithy's played Annie 3 times this split. Lost yesterday with it.
Had 3 bans against him from Fnatic.
Yep.
Went for the Annie, even though that's still a very, very good pick for Mithy. Didn't really manage to have too much impact in the game. Anyway, we're going to get a lane swap coming in from Origen. We mentioned this option here. When your top laner runs with the smite, it gives you just a small edge in this swap here. Double jungling becomes more effective. You can even use the smite in your laning phase to get a bit of extra farm. And also having this Annie can roam so effectively from Mithy's side. We know Sivir can handle herself, but the lane is not frozen, so Origen will have to put Soaz and Amazing on this top side while they push in the wave. So they don't want to give any farm to JWoww. Now it's mission shut down JWoww from the start.
We'll see how they can do it. Mithy, he's read the document. Gonna get a rampage. Holds onto the stun, does not actually use it just yet. Gonna start messing around with the Bramble back. 400 HP and JWoww should be able to secure this one. Auto attack, because he steals it!
No way.
Look at Origen! They were smiling and giggling. An auto attack.
And look here, because Elements were so delayed in trying to take that red buff, it bought time for Origen to send in Amazing and Amazing and Soas to start taking away some camps as well. Force Elements out of the jungle. We have the 4v0 on the top side. Gonna be slightly delayed for Elements on the bottom lane. We just saw a quick binding fly in the mid lane from Promiscue. Pulled away from FLICKR.
Break this down.
36 damage. And he's wonders away.
Wow, Observers with the PJ Salt. Really just twisting that knife as it's jabbed in. And that's going to slow Dexter down in terms of his clear. He did get his hands on his blue buff though, so that's going to be very important. But let's see whether or not that's going to impact him. And I think, considering Elements wanted to get off to a strong early to mid game, maybe that can slow it down.
But now that we've, hit week 4, we've seen these teams here play a lot of games. We start seeing some of the same strategies. From Origen, whenever they lane up to top, at least a few games I remember where they've been doing it, they always start on the weak side with Amazing. He takes his own red buff first, even though his dual lane is on the top side, starting to push that one in. And nobody invades on him to stop him, so he gets that red buff. Then he moves up to the top side of the map. It means he's going to secure farm on the bottom side that denies that from Dexter and JWoww when they move down to double jungle himself in this 4v0. And he then gets to the top side with a small XP advantage, which can end up being a big deal. But for now, it's not going to matter too much. He only got the one red buff, and Mythi obviously he stole the other one.
Well, it's important that you highlight that though, Defisher, because what we've learned from teams that become predictable, Elements unable to get that dragon. As we start rolling over to the next half of the split, teams that can review how lane swaps play, how player decisions work out, they can counter them. Ghost Pepper is a prime example in Spring Split. He would oftentimes be forgiven in lane to go try and invade and delay the double jungle, and sometimes gave up kills. Sometimes got caught out because he was readable.
Promiscue for Elements a few times. In this split here, has been invading in at level 1 to try and stop a blue buff and died twice on it because teams were just waiting for him with their own dual lane and just killed him, or with the enemy top lane and jungler sitting ready. So there are definitely trends you always see from teams, and sometimes you just gotta set up for the potential punish if they keep doing it. Oftentimes though, with now coaches and analysts and so on, these teams will figure out their own trends because they're trying to see like, okay, what would we do to beat ourselves? Okay, here's what we do often. We need to change it because it's too easy now for the other team to counter it.
Well, we did see Elements trying that dragon, talking about some of the trends and some of the preferences and how they play around dragon. We can have a look at some of those stats in a moment. The average first dragon's quite low. Origen significantly more, but let's also be fair, they have more wins under their belt.
Sure.
So you do get more control of those objectives.
Yeah, earlier dragon as well, because they tend to snowball already from the laning phase. The thing we didn't talk about yet was Origen took the top tower down, but they left a lot of minions alive that is now pushed down to JWoww, so he's not been denied that much. A massive wave has just been picked up from him, while Source is trying to do the same now once the wave is pushing back to him. But you can see the mission of denying the Hecarim didn't really do a whole lot for Origen in this case. They ended up trading towers as well, and right now JWoww can be very happy.
Level advantage, 20 CS advantage.
It's a big wave coming though for Source.
And Source will be able to at least close that gap, but there's not 20 creeps there. But he will get close. Something we haven't looked at though is this FLICKR versus Froggen matchup either, also going very even thus far.
Yeah, it is a farm lane, as we often see from both mid laners, honestly. When Echo's banned away, Froggen goes for the more defensive mid laners. We know FLICKR likes to do it. Origen doesn't rely on him in that early game. They're trying to neutralize each other. And if you do manage to get a small advantage, get a bit of damage on the enemy mid tower, it can then snowball later on when the side lanes are suddenly thinking, now we need to really start doing something here. We want to go in for this mid game. I want to see Dexter go top right now here. Source is level 4, 5 now. He's been poked down. Dexter, if you look at the minimap, killing the Rift Scuttler. He's on his way now. A little bit late. I would have seen this 20 seconds
Source
before.
Is gonna die.
20 seconds before to catch that big wave, but let's see if they get him.
Oh, Oh, not yet! Ignite! He's down. Let's be honest though, that was so predictable. Level 6 versus level 4, Onslaught and Ignite. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what happens if you don't bounce the wave when you kill that tower in the lane swap, because the waves start pushing down towards the enemy team. They get a big wave, they get an XP advantage while you have to play safe. And then you just call up your jungler and you go straight in for the dive under this tower here against an under-level champion. Easy play from Elements, amazing. Trying to respond the best he can by getting something on the bottom side. We'll get that dragon here, but if this continues in the top lane, then the next dragon could very well go over to Elements.
We'll need to see whether or not JWoww's power on this Hecarim will be enough to counterbalance the utility that Niels will offer Origen through that Sivir. There's a lot of slightly less measurable value in that on the hunt. However, if he just gets obliterated by JWoww, then of course that removes that question entirely, doesn't it?
But let's look at the mid game here. Now that Elements have managed to get farm on the top lane, despite the lanes have gotten a kill, they're gonna get a fairly standard time Trinity Force. Corki's gonna get the same. Azir needs 1-2 items before he can start really pushing in the lane super hard. One item should do it in terms of pushing. That means Elements in a 7-8 minutes time should start hitting some very strong power spikes. And they can use that because Pekka's Vladimir is not going to be able to wave there properly if you're pushing into his tower. He has to sit in the minion wave. Fizz is not going to add any wave there. Nuna is not going to add any wave there. It's only Niels who can react there. And suddenly Elements, if they start grouping together, the Corki and the Azir, and have TP on JWoww, they can force plays on Origen.
But it's not something they've been particularly able to do all split long.
That's why we have to see if
the theory sounds great. I'm just not 100% sure I'm a believer.
We're gonna have to see what Elements can do.
Yesterday, when Elements played a scaling mid laner with that Vladimir, it took nearly 30 minutes of gameplay before Elements made plays across the map. JWoww was gifted the farm.
Look what they're doing now though, Trevor.
Little advantage. Oh, is this proactive? Dark Binding. Is this going to connect? Mithy's in trouble. Been exhausted for the slow. It's going to wear off. Oh, the Dark Binding misses, but Dexter's there to save the day. And Froggen grabbed himself a kill.
Promiscue was trying to land that binding, so if Mythia just flashed straight ahead, it would connect onto him, but Mythia just keeps walking. Doesn't flash. Didn't even use it after once he knew he was dead. But this opens up the mid lane for Origen. Niels is in here as well.
So they're going to lose Mithy, but they should gain this tower. Dropping very low, and no one from Elements is in place.
JWoww just TP'd somewhere.
Where did he go?
He was down before.
Down bottom. Doesn't have assist on the board, and does have a kill, so he was involved in that fight.
Oh.
We just didn't see it because we were focusing on the Dark Binding of the ship.
Yeah, completely blind here.
It's alright. It's
How did we miss that big Hecarim?
I don't know, dude.
Well, that happened. Anyway.
Cast. That's the equivalent of flashing in the raid camp for casters. Not catching that one. We've hit 10 minutes. Elements 2 kills on the board.
How on earth?
They've got a CS advantage in Hecarim, which you talked about excessively. Even in the AD carries, even in the mid lane. But it's Element that are making moves around the map. Amazing's going to get his hand on that blue buff. Let's see where Elements prioritize their resources. Looks to be top lane for the moment.
He's going back to the top himself. Obviously, we just talked about how there's no wave clear for Sora, so he can't do anything to defend. Elements trying to say, after we just gave over that mid tower, we got to try and trade it back, and we also know that bot lane would be a very easy target for Origen anyway, so they just try and be a bit more proactive and go in and get something ourselves. If they were just sitting back in the lanes, Nunu would walk down, bot boil the Sivir, and they would take this bot tower anyway. Let's see if they can gank Froggen down.
There is a Tibbers available. You see those conquering, shifting sand soldiers flying Froggen across the map. We'll see whether or not Froggen can get the same level of bird power from Azir that he once did from Anivia.
All 3 outer turrets down. I really like the play from Origen before, saying we don't care about our support dying. If you send down everyone, even a teleport, remember, then we're just going to push mid instead. So I feel like Elements overcommitted for that one. And now Origen has opened up the map. Still waiting for Pekka to really scale up. And also Source, who's been set pretty far behind in this phase here. So your 2 soul laners are not going to be very effective. It's going to be more about Niels. I'm playing around the fact that you have 3 open lanes at the moment. I don't think you really want to get into too many fights against Trinity Force, Corki, and Hecarim.
Well, Trinity Force Corki is a little while away. Got the components of little bits of everything, but only sitting on 650 gold. So Tabs is going to need a lot more time to farm up. Look at the CS difference against Niels. He's having a strong showing. Mithy is around, does have Flash available, does have Tibbers, and Dragon's up in a minute. So it feels like Origen set their sights on that objective. They appear to want control. They might just get it.
Elements moving down a little bit too early, trying to secure the vision. They needed Taps to push out this bottom lane first so they could start defending these wards here. Never really much point in trying to go in and set them up if you're just going to give them away instantly, because your AD carry was sitting and farming in one lane. You have no TP in your top lane either. So very easy for Origen to go in and get control. Mason doesn't really care about the binding, he just wants the ward.
Kind of a weird transaction here, just trading skill shots for ward kills, and Origen walking away with now absolute vision control. 40 seconds ahead of time. However, there are wards in the pit at least for Elements, so they're not completely blind. May go down shortly. Luckily for them, Crab
Should
cannot be
disappear
denied.
soon though. Should disappear soon before Dragon even spawns. You can clearly see how Origen is making sure they have full control before they decide to take any fights. Don't want to risk JWoww getting a great flank on them or having to chase through one of these openings here against an Azir wall and the AoE damage from Azir and Corki. So Origen has to be very careful of how they decide to fight it. But I like this whole setup from them. Slowly, but surely they've taken control.
Yeah, and look at the side lanes. Soaz was up top with teleport available. JWoww still does not have it. Origen timed that. This is a fantastic move. They had FLICKR shove out the bottom wave, which Tabs has gone to clear. And an uncontested Dragon, a show of force in the river. Vision secured and Dragon locked down.
Really goes back to Elements just overcommitting for that one kill in the bot lane. They lost mid tower for they used teleport, which of course nobody missed. And then they couldn't fight for the second Dragon, despite having a team that is fairly strong at this point here. They're gonna have to wait till they can start sieging around this mid tower. It is the only one standing. Niels, that's also why Origen has put him here in the mid lane. To be them, basically the wave clear. Put Peck in a side lane now, go in your 1v1 as Origen always likes to do. And Niels, he's just on wave clear duty.
Well, we'll see whether or not Elements can get that pressure down. Trinity Force literally just picked up for JWoww. We've seen the two Cinder Hulks for Soaz and Amazing in their pockets for a little while. Niels is getting closer and closer to that Infinity Egg. He's thinking about 1,000 gold. Actually, I think next time he backs, he should be able to complete it. The big item spikes have been triggered on both sides of the river, but it's Origen that have been more proactive on the map, Elements more proactive in their bloodthirstiness.
Let's look at the ward placement here from Origen. There's one placed in the mid lane behind Froggen at the moment. That is potential TP for Soaz if he gets the chance. He's fighting top though.
Well, we do see Chum the Waters goes down. JWoww did hold on to his Onslaught of Shadows, but he used Ignite in that trade, and Soaz gets away from it.
Time for Taps though to go back here and shop or go join his team in the mid lane. He just pushed up a big wave in the bottom lane. They already set up this group here. They don't have any proper wards on the flank though, and they don't know what wards is behind them. So Soaz, he's moving in, and Niels again is the only wave clear for Origen. Now Taps joins them. He needs to wait for the next minion wave before he can do anything. So just missing his timing just a little bit here, but then again he had to push out that wave in bot.
Well, the only wave clear is currently enough wave clear if you are Origen. Lemon's been knocking on the outer turret door, but nobody is letting them get through. Again, Mithy with those distortion boots already upgraded, trying to find an opportunity. Elements are not presenting one. You see Amazing pushing deep. The thing is, every time you look at the minimap, I feel like Origen are using their side waves more effectively. They've got a strong CS lead on Niels. Yes, JWoww still has a 30 CS advantage on Soaz. Soaz 0-1-0. Got a Wardens, got a Cinder Hulk. He's starting already to get beefy.
The thing is here, Elements are allowing Origen to push out these side lanes, to get into the jungle for a few times and ward it. Taps right now is sitting on over 2,000 gold on this Corki here. You see it there, 2,400 for himself. He goes back to shop now, so he's going to be very strong coming out of the base. And that's where Elements now have to turn on the power. They have to be able to groove on this mid tower, push it in, You have your bot lane now that's easy to shove it back out for tap. Take one wave, take the next wave you see moving in from Elements towards, from Origin towards Elements. Now clear those 2 waves and then group with the Azir in the mid lane. Origin has to send someone down to take the wave bot lane. That's your opening. Sivir alone should not be enough to stop double poke from taking down this mid tower. And then suddenly Elements, even out the turrets for, gets a lead as well in terms of gold and can be ready for next dragon, where once again they hit these spikes on Trinity Forces.
What I learned from the previous game, Officio, was after 18 minutes of even gameplay, a team that makes the more proactive decisions can win very rapidly. Unicorns of Love just rolled over Gambit once they hit those power spikes. And you can see Froggen, Deathcap picked up with that Morellonomicon.
There's tabs in the mid lane.
And there's tabs with that Trinity Force and Sorcerer Shoes that you talked about. Let's see if Elements can find the team fight they're looking for to use their current strength as well as the bottom wave pushing.
Let's track the wave here. Tabs decided to build a big wave that can slowly push down towards Origin. They're already at the top. Mif's going in though.
Flash Timbers is going to hold Froggen in place. Emperor's Divide has not been used for the time being. It does, but Froggen is down. He has to fly the coop and return to base. Promise Q gets sucked dry as Xpek's Vladimir gets another kill. 2 kills to Origin.
I really wish we could have waited just like 20 seconds because Elements needed that wave in the bot lane to be closer to the Origin tower, so someone had to go down and defend and clear that wave. Dexter getting stunned up should be able to tongue away, but because this wave is slowly building up and Elements already went aggressive in the mid lane, it allowed Origin to have all 5 members there and just instantly engage onto them, win the fight, push it back out. Suddenly the window is closing for Elements. They missed a chance here because they went too early suddenly. Almost feels weird to say. We just talked about what they should do. Didn't wait for that wave. 5 vs 5 in the mid lane with an Annie flashing in.
Oh, Mythy again.
It's great engage. I mean, he's running Distortion, he's building Talisman. He can do this time and time again. Origin is here. They win the fight. The siege was just about to be set up. You needed 20, 30 seconds. And then you could start doing this. You need a wards on the flanks. They went there. Origin gets the fight they won. And we might just see them start really snowballing out of control now.
Well, we'll see if Origin can accelerate the game. Looking good. Pretty happy with their current performance. I'm getting very far ahead of myself to Fisher, but bear with me for a second, because both of these teams want to make it to playoffs. Both of these teams want to make it to Summer Split Finals, because neither of these teams have championship points. So if Elements or Origin want to make it to the World Championships, they have to either win the Summer Split, which is at that Harvard Arena in Stockholm. Tickets are still available, guys. Head over to lolesports.com. You can grab those up. And it starts with actually picking up wins in this game. Currently, Origin, they've dropped a few games, but they've got the makings of another victory under their belt.
Origin trying to start a Baron in case Elements and all 5 guys down to the Dragon. Step, Elements quickly react, secures that one for themselves. So nice little play there. Needs to go back and defend the mid lane though. Origin once again is pushing in and winning that last team fight as well has opened up the jungle of Elements. It's been warded now by them. And let's see what Elements can do if they can catch someone from Origin. They need to start creating something with this Corki pick here.
And we'll see how much pressure Origin apply on this top half of the map. They do have control around the pit. As you can see, not necessarily the strongest, Baron numbers, but decent. However, I don't feel Origin's team composition will be setting their sights on it. With Sivir and the power of grouping Niels aside, can use that to their advantage. Elements, not out of this yet. 2,000 gold down. If they can find an engage that works, great. However, Deficio, they really just want to go for the pinata in the mid lane, but they're blindfolded. And Elements are swinging and swinging and missing and missing.
And now Mythy, Tippers is ready. He's going to have flash very soon with the Distortion enchant. Let's see if he wants to just go for another engage, because once again, Origin have been allowed to control at least one side lane. The bot lane is slowly pushing for Elements, so they have to once again wait for it. But it's getting easier and easier for Origin to respond every single time. Source can even already sit down towards his bot lane. So he's bot now. Top lane you see the Vladimir. If you ever have a chance to get that mid tower, it's right now for Elements.
Right. Rinse and repeat. I feel like we've seen this before.
Only 3 guys from Origen here this time, though.
Okay, flash is available for Mithy. Can he find the target? Doesn't even need to, because Niels is going to wave clear. So,
But then you gotta commit.
this is just again, siege in the middle lane. But it's not the most coordinated siege. Elements not using those side lanes effectively enough. We're not seeing CS numbers growing really on the side of Elements.
And that's the most annoying thing as a player, is when you have this play in mind, you know, okay, we have to do this, and one thing goes wrong because you just missed a part of it, and then you get super scared because you're like, oh, no. We have to be careful now because Mithy is here. He can just flash chip us again. So when they then have the chance to pull off the play, they're starting to doubt themselves, you know, feel like it's a bit too risky, and that really can slow down everything for these players here. Very tricky situation for Elements now. Dexter is not going to be able to just jump away, but Origen, once again, they get time to go in, plays up these deep walls here. They're now going to have pressure on this Baron. They might be able to force a 5-on-5 team fight where you pop that Sivir ulti in the river. Open area where you can really use that mobility so well, and where Mithy gets a chance to flash in with the tippers. That's going to be so key. I'm looking at Mithy in every single team fight here. If he can get on to Taps or Froggen and kill one of these big damage dealers for Elements at the moment, Origen is going to win the fight.
And interesting to note, Niels has gone for that Phantom Dancer as opposed to the Shiv, despite the importance of wave clear on his side. However, Elements only really have Corki and Azir to try get those turrets down. It's not going to be in range, but this is going to be the fight. There was a tippers that come down. I don't think that connected with anybody. Dexter has been attached to Chum the Waters, and he's flashed into safety. Hemoplague is going to split up Elements, as promised you, will get taken out. We do see the pop from the Hemoplague, the Ice Blast from Amazing. Absolute Zero to secure the kill, and 2 more members of Elements are down to the Origen team fights.
The same again here for Origen. They managed to get 5 players together. Tibbers onto Froggen, forces Baron, and then he dashed away from that one. But as long as Origen can just pop that Sivir ulti and fight out in the open, it's working really well for them. Let's see what happens near the Baron here. Taps and JWoww going in.
That's a lot of damage from JWoww. He may get Niels. Niels is forced to flash to safety. He comes back in with the cheeky auto attack for the kill. Emperor's Divide will split the team fight, but Froggen will only get 1 before being taken down himself. Elements crucially interrupt the Baron.
Managed to stop that one. 2 more kills though for Origen. They're heading gold. Elements are back towards the mid lane. Tap needs to go back soon though. He's running very low. Let's see how much gold he's sitting on this time, because last time he had 2,500. 1,700 build up for him now. Go towards, depending obviously on what he wants here. If he wants to play extra safe, you go for the BT. If you want the maximum damage, you want the Infinity Edge. But against the Nunu and the Fizz, going Blade of the Ruined King is also a very viable option for him.
Well, you're talking about items, Deficio. Mithy has picked himself up a Quicksilver Sash already. The only real threat being, of course, some of those dark bindings. As long as he can engage, it'll be great. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is JWoww's damage onto Niels.
It is a Trinity Force tech for him. We mentioned how strong Elements could be here in this mid game, but they never managed to get the coordination down, because it's always Origen in control of when the fights are starting through Mithy and through how Elements are trying to set up the place and missing just 1 or 2 things every single time. And then they get surprised by Origen flashing in, getting onto a carry. So we never got to see what JWoww could do before now, and now he was left almost on his own.
But it does still show you, if JWoww can get behind, if he can find Niels, there is the potential to at least remove one of those damage threats. Fizz is building Uber Mega Ultra Tank. Even FLICKR has gone fairly tanky. He's gone for Spirit Visage, as well as Wota and then Void Stop. So, truthfully, if you drop Niels early, there is a chance for Elements to win a team fight. We do have an answer to the question. Tabs is going towards that Blade of the Ruined King as his second item.
Very standard when you're against 2 tanks, even though obviously Sword is not. Oh, sorry, Amazing at this point is not the tank. How many tank is that? He has to lock it, he's gonna get a lot of HP. So it's
They're gonna get the tower. No? No,
now
no minions,
come back.
no minions. I got too excited.
If this tower doesn't go down this game, it's the MVP. That 1 tower. Because everything so far has been around that 1 tower.
Oh, Elements.
It's just bait right now.
It is. Kind of feels a little bit like 300. Elements trying to siege and break the Spartan army, but King Leonidas kneels, holding strong. This time round, Origen do have that northern position in the river. No teleport from Soaz, so he's not in the side lane. JWoww does have teleport. It looks like Origen are saying, call our bluff. We'll be on Baron, you decide where you want to go. There's the teleport from JWoww. Origen have forced Element's hand. And JWoww's now joined. Is it going down?
It's open now, Elements. Good job here spotting Dexter. He doesn't even want the minions. He's just gonna take down that tower. There we go. 28 minutes in. And now we can get baited by the tier 2 tower.
Let's see. With their outer turret down, Elements may decide to play around the jungle. Before they can, they have to deal with, again, the threat of Baron. It's not the fastest Baron team from Origen, though.
Origen just wants a chance to pop that ulti from Nils and then a flash tippers from Mithy. Out in the open here, we keep talking about it, but Elements are staying so far back and just poking them really, really well. So they punish Origen for it and they get better position around the mid lane to push down for another tower. Origen going back to Baron instead. Elements probably going to go back to stop them after they take down this tower.
You read the situation incorrectly. The bait was Baron, not the tower. This time around, it's down to 2,500 Elements. Maybe too late to this one. Origen secure it. They do pop on the hunt. Mithy's looking for the stun. He finds it onto Promiscu before the Black Shield can come out. Let's see if it had been used already, and it's Soaz that picks up the kill credit. But look at the base! Super minions will be pouring through soon. It looks like Elements are going to trade a Baron for an inhibitor. Let's flash over there. It looks like Peck has thrown down the Hemoplague as Niels and Amazing are coming up from behind. Hemoplague pops, and Froggen gets popped in reply. Elements lose 3 in Baron, but gain supers in middle.
But look at the top lane here. They're going to lose even more. Mithy's going to get a kill as well.
He finds one onto Tabs. This is devastating for Elements. As JWoww throws down the onslaught of shadows. He's got a Bramble back and a Yeti on his back. Amazing is trying to be a nuisance and prevent JWoww getting into the base. Soaz has killed an inhibitor turret. Amazing smites for the heal. And he's still keeping JWoww busy. Yeti's greater than horses, or so we're learning. Consume again for the HP. JWoww finally wins the trade, but at what cost? Soaz is now trying to get the inhibitor. He should be able to secure it. Going to Urchin strike through to dodge the Dark Binding. And after the dust has settled, Super's top, Super's middle, but Baron for Origen.
So Elements feeling it was worth it for them to try and trade an inhibitor and then give away that Baron to Origen. Didn't move back to try and stop it, only sent 3 guys over there. In the end, the Origen gets some kills. Promiscu got caught out, and then they get the kills on to Froggen and Taps, who just needed like a few more seconds before they maybe have made it out. And that results in Origen getting a top inhibitor, so definitely winning out on the trade. But Elements feeling that maybe it was too risky for them to go in and try and take that fight, or maybe they just thought they could get down this inhibitor, back out in time, and say, okay, you get the Baron, but we got towers, we open up your base instead, and you don't want to keep dancing around this objective, just waiting for Mithy to flash in with that tippers.
Yeah, there's no teleport on either top laner, and multiple lanes of super minions. Kinda have to think this is going to be a slower pace. Origen, with the wave clear advantage of Sivir, may be able to work out. Oh, Dark Binding goes wide. Promiscu does not manage to connect. Origen shove out that middle lane and then instantly onto this bottom turret. This will be tower number 7. Origen don't care that their Super's pushing towards them because they've got the Baron. They've got the pressure advantage.
We might just see Origen try and go for a dive, honestly. If they get onto a key target, you can just try and instantly assassinate them. You have Peke as well going. Source just jumping straight in and then back out. Look for Mithy once again, though.
No flash this time. Does have that ancient point. Talisman of Ascension. But a lot of wave clear from Froggen and Corki, played by Tabs, to deal with. Origen's minion waves, even with Baron empowered, is getting killed very, very quickly.
And that's why, again, with the fact that Origen is grouping all 5 on this bottom, they're obviously waiting for the super minions top lane to push in, but also just give them that option. Here's the dive.
Well, there's the dive. Emperor's Device going to split them up. Chum the Waters connects onto JWoww, but Peke and Niels forced to back away. Hemoplague has now been used. We see Froggen's barrier, his wall is down. Niels takes a couple extra hits. Super minions are in the middle of the base. Origen tried to use the pressure to their advantage, held Elements back, but they need to recall to deal with those supers.
Try to see if they can just get a quick pick here, then get another tower down, while Elements also had to go back and deal with the super minions. Instead, they play it safe, they back away, gets to kind of reset the map a little bit. Dexter, maybe looking for that red buff. Mason was cheating a little bit before in that one-on-one. Dexter now wants revenge against the red buff. Or not.
Not this time round. Vision for Dragon, which is up in 20 seconds. Elements got 1, Origen got 3. Now the game is slowed down just a hair. Elements are 7,000 gold down.
Oh, it's just a small one left anyway.
Just the baby one. It was picked up by JWoww, I think. So Dragon is now spawned. We do see Niels is going to spot them out with that scrying lens, scrying orb. Home Guard, teleports, JWoww. Where can he go? He's channeling it. He's coming in from the Wraith camp. That's what Dexter was doing. Onslaught of Shadows is still on hold. JWoww doesn't need it. They've lost Promise Q, but Niels is down. Froggen's got himself a kill as well. 2 members of Origen are down and they're on the retreat. FLICKR trying to transfuse himself away. He survives. 2 for 1. Supers on Element's base. Means they need to back as well.
Really like that Dragon setup though. We were joking around with Dexter just going for that red buff, but he placed a few D wards, allowed JWoww to get a good flank in against Origen. Get a Dragon. It's only the second one of the game for them though, so the Dragon won't really be the big deal for now. It's more the fact that Baron is respawning in 2 minutes time. Origen used it as a tool to try and force a fight out in the open. Element said, nope, we don't even want to go for it. We're just going to try and take your inhibitor instead. End up backfiring for Elements that's lost their own on the top side. I want to see what they do this time around. Obviously, you don't have the same amount of the same kind of power spike as you had in the mid game, where you didn't really manage to gain any advantage. And we also have a pause.
Thanks, Captain.
There you go.
What we did see, though, was just how important Niels is to Origen's team fights. When JWoww finds him and insta-gives him, all of a sudden, Origen loses a very big chunk of their damage. Look at the items here. Yes, Fizz is great in the back line, but Soaz doesn't have a lot of damage. FLICKR is, as we've already highlighted, gone quite tanky, really. Arm Guard, Spirit Visage. A lot of weight on Niels' shoulders. I mean, it's paid off so far, let's also be honest.
Yeah, it's a strategy we have seen before from Origen. I mean, Niels has been absolutely fantastic this split here. Yesterday against Fnatic, he was the only guy who had any kills. All 6 of them for the team. So he's been in a position before where he is the main damage dealer. He didn't even get to use Flash in the last fight. Hecarim came in, I think he got blinded after, just got completely destroyed. That pause was just a bait.
Well, we are back in game. Last match of the week here in week 4. Elements find themselves 2 wins and 5 losses on the split. In the next week, we will breach that halfway mark. We'll start having rematches. We'll start seeing who's gonna really start stepping up. There's a replay of this previous fight. Keep your eyes on JWoww and then Niels.
Yeah, so Niels basically just gets locked up instantly, doesn't have a chance at all of dealing damage or flashing out. Meaning that Elements win the fight. FLICKR gets out in the end, but then Dragon gets picked up by Elements, and really just a good setup at first from Dexter with the deep ward. And then we'll still see, even though Home Guard has been nerfed a little bit on Hecarim, it can still be very powerful just as a surprise factor, as a flank to get in there. JWoww honestly had a pretty good game. Whenever he's been needed to do anything, he's been there.
It's never been the case. It just feels like Element as a team not necessarily been in the right place at the right time. We've seen both inhibitors respawn. And despite Origen still holding on to a sizable gold lead, it's obviously becoming slightly less effective the longer this game goes. More frequent Elements can finally engage. JWoww has been caught out. Mythy puts down the stun. Froggen is trying to wave clear. Take a look at the bottom. Soaz is pushing out that bottom lane. He's onto the inhibitor. There's the Shurima shuffle, and they've caught FLICKR. He sanguine pulls underneath Elements, but the onslaught of shadows from JWoww jumps into the back line. Elements are deciding they don't want this fight. Soaz has got himself a tower, and Elements going to back out. Nobody goes down in the fight, but that was close. Here's Soaz, teleported to mid lane. He's found Tabs. Chum the Waters connects. Dexter's going to at least knock him up. Tabs is trying to lifesteal, and he should be able to survive for the moment. Is going to get taken out. Challenging smite was enough. The hop and the skip from Soaz lands on Dexter's head, and he's forced to retreat. Dexter will be going down. Origen get themselves another tower and 2 more kills on the retreat from Elements.
Yeah, Soaz split pushing there. Only 4 members from Origen, and still they managed to get such a good team fight. Froggen He pushed back FLICKR, who just instantly pulled, stayed alive. There's no damage really to be dealt on Origen. They win the fight. They get so much on the map again. Baron, another tower, 2 inhibitors exposed now from Elements. Niels, 4 items completed on his Sivir. And Nuno, of course, buffing him up.
Very, very scary Sivir. But if you step back and look at this entire game, it can be summarized by looking at how many members Origen have pushing top or bottom lane. The entirety of this match, somebody has been dealing with those lanes to keep Elements defending, to keep Elements with their backs against the wall, and it's paying off. Origen got the tower lead, they've got the map lead, they've got farm leads, they're in a great position.
And then also just Origen being able to predict what Elements were going to do. So whenever Elements were grouping in the mid lane, Origen were already sitting ready with like 3, 4, 5 members, and they instantly went for the fight. They didn't give Elements a chance to start grouping because, you know, there was a mistake with the minion wave, there's no walls on the flanks, and that gave Origen the chance to go for these engages here and be ready for them. And that just allowed them to survive the mid game at first, get these team fights out in the open with the Sivir ulti. FLICKR has done a good job in team fights as well. By building a bit tanky, he still has a lot of damage.
Yeah, working with his team very effectively. Hourglass picked up, so going to survive even more. And with those Baron empowered minions, we saw the graphic a little while ago, Deficio, that Origen had secured 6 Barons in their previous games. They've picked up 2 this game alone. 25% of their total number already. Let's see what they can take with this one. 2/3 of the timer has run through. Origen going to use this last couple of waves to try and take another inhibitor. Let's see if they can. FLICKR trying to zone. JWoww again teleporting in from behind. On the hunt has come out. Can Elements find the target? Niels, he's got caught out. He's down. Elements have got the main damage dealer. They're focusing on FLICKR, but the retreating Origen will stay alive for the time being. And they do get themselves a kill on Dexter. I think that was the Hemoplague pop that did it. 1 for 1. Origen got the inhibitor. Very important. Pressure still on Elements.
Every single time JWoww has that teleport ready, Origen is pushing up and he gets a chance to flank. He gets on to Niels. Another time when Niels didn't get to flash, just ends up dying instantly. Damage goes down. That caught me a little bit off guard.
Yeah, that actually scared me.
We got some good sound effects here. I want to look more tapped when he's flying around.
Observers, you have your mission. You may not be able to do it. Froggen for his soldiers to arise. Those tabs coming up from the river. Elements dealing with the minion wave, but Soaz, no teleport up top. Origen going to be a little careful. They're playing very deep in enemy territory.
Yeah, you need your AD carry here. 5 guys from Elements around them. If they realize Niels is not there, they might just look straight for a fight, but it seems like they're all just recalling, going back to base, gonna now stand face to face.
Maybe Origen expected the dragon to be the focus for Elements. And Elements opted to leave that one thanks to the wards. They can drag this out. JWoww will have teleport in a couple of minutes' time. It's the only way back into this, I feel, for Elements. Teleporting onto Niels to turn more towers or get supers or a Baron, something important.
That won't happen for a few minutes. I think Elements is going to be a little bit annoyed they didn't realize Niels was there or didn't see an opening at least to start a fight. They had the ulti ready from JWoww when Origen were pushing up. Obviously nothing, no Sivir ulti. I mean, there's a Righteous Glory for Promise, so they will be able to add some mobility with 4 dragons now for Fnatic.
6
for Origen.
minutes.
Fnatic.
Wow.
For FLICKR and Soaz.
You're going back
Origen.
in time, Deficio. Back in time indeed.
I mean,
it's because it's FLICKR and Froggen.
Yeah, I called them top laners earlier. Now I'm calling Origen from Fnatic.
A couple weeks off, and your mind just goes to mush. But we did see that dragon going down. That 6-minute timer for the 5 dragon buff. Can Origen secure it? They've not been able to this split. If memory serves, nobody's been able to get aspect of the dragon in Summer so far. I'm sure somebody from Stats will help confirm or deny that for me. But we do see this inhibitor will be falling down. Elements deciding not to engage. Soaz takes a little bit of poke, but now there's super minions in the top lane to deal with as well. Elements playing it safe. FLICKR is going to get caught out. Emperor's Divide will get dodged away by that Sanguine Pool. little bit of awkwardness across the board as Element's trying to hold on. JWoww is getting chunked as Niels is shredding his HP. Does not get one more magical critical hit.
Mid tower as well now.
Will secure the tower and potentially the third inhibitor. League of Legends by the numbers. Origen getting all the objectives.
So everything open. Origen doesn't have to take any chances now. Spend the goal you have. Wait for these super minions to start pushing in. Even have a Baron coming in 1.5 minutes, but when you have 3 lanes with super minions, you want to get into that base of elements and you want to just put pressure on them. Because they're obviously forced to deal with all these minions. They're going to get poked from it. Mithy has Banner of Command, one of my favorite items. I love it. Buff up to one of your minions. Even the AP can be useful.
Niels going for Blade of the Rune King as his 5th item. All in. Why not?
Consider the fact that the only way he's been dying is if he gets locked down CC-wise for either the spear or the binding. Could have gone in for a QSS for Niels. It's like, again, he killed twice now where he got flanked. He didn't get to flash out or anything. He just he ended up going down instantly. Besides, he wants more damage though. Try and deal some of the tanks from Elements.
Elements trying to push forward and deal with some supers before he gets into the base, but top lane is going to catch them out. Elements now have to also deal with this empowered minion from the Banner of Command. Soaz shoving bottom, he has teleport available. Elements forced to retreat. They simply cannot risk being outside of their base with double super minions in 3 lanes. If Origen play patiently, this is their ticket to another victory.
Hero's teleport is up in just a few seconds. He's already back in base. Is there any wards behind? There's one down here near the Wolf camp. Fairly far away though from the rest of Origen, but it might be the one he's in for. Or just comes straight from the base. Trying to dive in.
Inhibitor, one more love tap is all that it will take. Pekka's on the front line. Look at the hit onto JWoww. Niels with that Bloodthirster shield. Still able to chunk down. Froggen going to be using that passive, but
First tower.
He calls up a tower as Elements lose a tower. Origen continue the siege. Look at the minions, they're pouring through top. Inhibitor is going to drop. Feels like just a matter of time now. Origen should be able to just throw down on the hunt to try focus the tower. Soaz eats a dark binding. There's on the hunt and the Tibbers. Pekka comes in. That's JWoww going on the onslaught of Shadows. Tabs is deleted as Mithy gives his life for Origen to set their sights on the Nexus. Origen will be losing 3 members as Pekka and Froggen trading on the fountain. Froggen gets himself a triple kill, but look at all the super minions. Amazing's going to try to defend this. Can he kill it? There should be enough. Froggen goes in for the quadra kill.
Ah, the Nunu.
And
Wow.
Origen.
Super minions.
Look at that face palm from Amazing. Froggen's got a fair amount of AoE, but it may not be enough. He's trying to defend. This is PvE, League of Legends. Bird is the word.
He needs the minions to respawn.
He's looking for minions, but it's going to stay alive a few seconds longer. This next
This is what Froggen does best, by the way.
Never shoutcasted a player versus Winions. And the Winions are not with Origen yet.
Wait and see, more super minions are coming though, but Froggen got his own minion spawn just to buy some more time.
I have no experience shoutcasting, farming. This is, I agree with picture
And
in picture.
Picture's alive.
Elements live to fight one more day.
With all that farm, Froggen would go back and upgrade his QSS. Get some AD as well for himself. 3 waves of super minions coming down. 1 guy left alive. Amazing on Nunu was standing there, ended up dying instantly.
Deficio, you can take members of Fnatic out of Fnatic, but unkillable Nexuses, you cannot take out of Fnatic members.
Froggen farming like a monster.
Pekka and Soaz have felt this pain many times before. 6 Barons in their previous games. This will be the 3rd in 1 game. Half of all Barons secured. Leading up to this point, Origen have secured, and 10 seconds till Dragon. Elements, can you stop Dragon? I say no.
Teleport is ready. We need one insane team fight. I mean, they've won fights before, despite being behind. But they get to Niels. He has no flash. TP's up for JWoww, but it's going to be 5 Dragons and a Baron and inhibitors down. Like, again, technically it's impossible.
A Baron,
However,
Baron buff aspect of the Dragon team with no Nexus turrets and with only 1 exposed inhibitor. I mean, the odds are astronomically stacked against Elements.
thank you.
Mercurial Scimitar's been sold for a Guardian Angel.
I'm a little bit disappointed.
Froggen's got a lot of toys to play with. Needs that extra life.
Very pretty. And also quite like the QSS against Mythi's Flash Tip as well. Guardian Angel instead of Froggen. So 2 inhibitors now respawned. Giving a little bit more breathing room for Elements. But then a Baron buff, 5 Dragon, and Origen comes in and doesn't really count for too much.
There are so many particles.
Oh, wow.
So many particles and Niels. 1 Boomerang Blade chunked down Froggen there. No armor to speak of outside of that Hourglass. He's sticking around though. He's going in for the Shurima Shuffle. He split Origen, but Froggen's going to be low. JWoww's coming, but the fight may already be over. He's jumped onto Niels. He's dashed back out of the fight. Promiscue, Tabs, Dexter, Froggen, they are all down. Origen are looking to win themselves another game with the first aspect of the Dragon with 3 Barons. And with every single tower down, Origen close out the game. I'm almost as relieved as they are.
I mean, there's so many different, so many things to talk about in this game here. Like, from the start of Origen, punishing Elements for missing just a few key things every time they were trying to set up a play. It's very clear on the map what their mistakes were and what happened. And then here in the end, we need 5 Dragons, Barons, 3 inhibitors down before the fight events. And even the last team fight, they've been so good with the JWoww TPs in for the flanks. Then the last one, it came in late. Elements lost the fight. I mean, let's be fair, they probably lost the fight anyway with how buffed up Origen was, but fun ending. I mean, it's cool to see Froggen defend the next.
It was a fun game to watch, that is for sure. And I think for Elements, it was a little bit of progression. It was good to see him being a little bit more proactive. They were trying, however, all of the other things were lacking. The side lanes, the timing.
This is one of the games, though, where you go back and you rewatch it, and you instantly realize, oh, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. We need to fix these 2 parts. And then our overall game plan was there. It was okay. But we were just lacking this and this. And it's very clear when they rewatch the game, like, oh, we didn't have the sideway pushing, or it wasn't pushed down far enough, and we didn't have wards on the flank. So we allowed Origen to get that engaged. So I feel like that's a thing for Elements here. But really never got to use that strong mid game. We saw how strong JWoww could be in these fights. The Baron one where he jumps in 1 versus 4 or something and almost gets a kill on Nils. Never really got to use it. Once it was almost too late and they were just trying to, claw their way back into the game.
Well, exciting game to watch.
This is clawing, by the way. I don't know why.
Feels like crawling more than clawing. I really think your brain's gone to mush. Let's quickly take a look at that team composition there, just to once again round up this game, because we did see FLICKR picking the Vladimir blind, Froggen running the Azir, and despite a couple of pretty good engages and damage, didn't have the same level of control. It felt like Origen could deal with Elements team composition.
Yeah, again, Origen, every time Elements made a misplay on the map, Origen was there to punish them. When they sent 5 guys down to the bottom to kill poor Mythi, mid tower went down from Origen's side. So they always seem to have answers to what Elements were doing. I still think like Nunu with an Azir in mid lane is a fantastic comp, so I would like to see that. But the Vladimir in the end, in the team fights, did a lot of work for Origen here.
So Origen very clearly in 3rd place right now with that victory. Going to be going into their last match of the first half of the split. Exciting ending. The Winions, when you see them like diving the tower, is something special. But we'll talk about Origen just a touch more. Elements, of course, discussing the game. There's a lot to discuss. And a couple of good plays, a couple of good engages, but the problem is a couple of good plays, 1/3 good decisions does not make up for 2/3 poor planning. It's something you and Crepo talk about exceptionally often, especially off-air, is how long it takes to set up a fight, how long it takes to set up a siege. The one team fight I remember...
Unless you're a Sivir, of course.
Of course, but think about the team fight in the river we played a replay of where JWoww killed Niels, thanks to Dexter 2 minutes ago or a minute before setting up those wards in the Raptor camp.
Yeah.
Had there been more of those plays, what else could have happened?
That's the crazy thing. I mean, how many small things that need to work before you can pull off these plays here? It's not as simple as it looks sometimes.
It definitely is not, but we did see Origen able to claw themselves into that lead, and to find out how they clawed into it, let's head over to the analyst desk for a word with Origen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm joined here by FLICKR and Niels after that victory. And I just want to enjoy the moment for a second, Peke and Cyanide.
Is this the point where we kiss?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the game before anything crazy happens. People are going to hate me for this one. I think you're stuck, actually. You can't go any closer.
I actually can't.
It's a safety net.
No.
Oh, okay.
you're breaking it.
Perfectly. Anyway, guys, on a serious note, though. Elements versus Origen. When we talked in the pregame, we thought if you guys get ahead early, it could be potentially a pretty quick game for you guys, but it turned out to be quite a match and not so fast as we expected. Niels, why do you think that is?
I mean, honestly, they are playing like Azir, Corki, good wave clear jump, but we also didn't play that good. We had good dives, we had good engage, but once Azir picked up QSS, it was hard to like flash stun him and one-shot him, before the wall was out and clear every wave. But we did not play that good, like objectives, rotations, this kind of stuff. So,
how hard did Soaz tilt after getting dived at top lane?
he was like,
No, he didn't tilt, actually. He was just like, the usual stuff. Never mind. Good game for me again.
I'm that guys.
Peke, the Vladimir pick, of course, you've played it a couple of times, but we saw Froggen doing really well with it yesterday. Was it a counter pick or was it a comp pick?
Well, it's really good in the comp. Like, these dive comps is always good to have Vladimir when you have Sivir, when you have Annie. You can always go in, and every time you have Flash Ghost, you one-shot whoever you want to one-shot. And at the same time, Froggen plays a lot of Vladimir. And I think most of the champions he plays, Vladimir is fine against. Some of them are harder. Like Azir is not an easy matchup, but you go equal. So I felt like it was the best blind pick to do, because it's really hard when you are blue side to decide which blind pick is the best that fit the team comp and doesn't have a really awful lane.
Did it like surprise you a lot that Elements was actually playing pretty good at the start? Like they were roaming around. Of course, you always got something from it, but like we've been talking a lot about like them being really passive in the early game, but this game they were actually like going as a unit.
You want to go or?
You can go if you know. If not,
You don't know or?
No, well, I don't remember there.
It's like,
then we lose there.
So they had like Morel death cap on Azir, and Corki had level 11 with Sorcerer's Boost, Triforce, and Azir had a pot, an elixir. So they have so much power spike right here, but Corki late game is not so good. So we wanted to not fight, not fight Drake, not give up mid tower if possible. So we just like AFK'd for a bit and wait for the mid lane and just wait for late game.
Yeah, also the flashes. We didn't want to fight when Annie and I didn't have flash ghost or something, because it's impossible to reach Corki and Azir. If Annie cannot flash and I cannot follow up, it's impossible to win a fight. So we always were avoiding fights when we had no summoners. It was impossible.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that you guys were just more careful overall. Of course, I want to touch on the 2 losses that you guys had. Of course, getting smashed by Roccat last week, which wasn't pretty to see. But then yesterday, it felt like you guys recovered pretty well in Fnatic, even though you guys played from behind. Do you feel there is a difference in the way you approach those, deficits rather, in the early game now, for both of you?
Well, it's not like, we still played bad yesterday. We did good decisions. The difference between against Roccat, I think we were just not really having any plan, not doing anything. We're just like play early game. We lost early and we still play like if we were ahead or something, trying to make some fights without thinking, just like, okay, we're ahead, let's use everything and try to fight. And it didn't work out at all. It was really bad. And yesterday, we had as well a few fights that we shouldn't have taken, but when it came to decisions, we did really good decisions all the time. It was just that we felt maybe after, what to do after, or how to do it to get to the point that we want to get a Drake or we want to get something, because we managed to get a Drake really easily. We managed to stay in the game even when we were behind, but it was, I don't know, they play a lot better and we still did a lot of mistakes.
So, Niels, there is this rising star, AD carry in Diamond 3 called the Valerian. That's my Smurf. Like, how pressure do you feel about me, like, coming in and taking your spot?
That's not too good. I have to watch out for my job here. I've seen your stream.
Yeah.
Nice eggs and water.
Be careful, man. Coming.
Yeah, Cyanide is coming for you guys, but you guys recovered really well. What's up with the necklaces, by the way? I just spotted it.
So yesterday when I went to talk with my brother, he's here. There some fan came to me and gave us like these necklaces with our names and origin on. You can't see it, but
Yeah, I catch the drift.
so
Well,
we were wearing them today for
good
to
luck.
honor that.
Yeah, good luck. It seems like it's been working now. I don't want to keep what's wanted to happen. I'm going to attach this, and then if you want to go and hug,
Oi.
activate, it'll be off.
Wait, let me move. Go, Niels. Give him a hug.
What?
You don't want a hug from Niels?
Oh.
Wait, I cannot give you a hug. You sit on my lap. That's what I already wanted to see. Come here. Just come here.
This is so cringe.
This is so awkward, actually. What?
You know, whatever.
This is too much.
You know what? It's only as awkward as you
come,
want it to be.
Come,
That was
give me a
beautiful.
normal hug.
That was
Good old times. Good time to see.
Oh, it's so beautiful. But, well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Congratulations on the victory today.
I feel set up.
You feel set up. Well, that's what happens. But now for a look at the week overall, let's check in with Quickshot and the Fish Show.
I don't know what is happening anymore. Why are all of our show endings with Cyanide so interesting? Thank you, Shocks, Cyanide, FLICKR, and Niels. And actually, talking about Niels, we want to break down some of his numbers. He is the fantasy MVP on the day with Siva playing against Elements. 6 kills, 14 assists. He picked up 37 points to Fisher.
Hey, we talked about in the game how so much of Origen's comp was about Niels here. He died a few times, had the flash ready, could have saved that one. Or well, could have stayed alive and maybe got more fantasy points. But in the end, with the kills he got yesterday and of course the performance today, as always. Do you have him?
No, it really annoys me. He knocked Hyanan off the list, and Hyanan's on my team. Anyways, that's your fantasy. We put together a list of 5 OP pros that did stand out in week 4. These are the guys that we're going to keep watching as the split continues to progress and talk about who played well today and yesterday. Let's start with SK. They went 2-0 this week, and I think this guy on your screens right now, Sven Skjeren, he had a great performance. He also backed up Freddy. Let's start with Sven, 7-5-21. First jungle echo, 7 champions in 7 games. Got a couple of great kills and played very well.
Yeah, really the backbone of SK Gaming. The early game, it needs to be around Svenskeren because he's so good there. Him and Freddy together as well, the synergy. We've seen it now for almost 2 years, honestly, with this new SK lineup, which we saw back in Season 4, now in Season 5 here, even a new one. They keep making some changes, but they keep Freddy and they keep Svenskeren. And whenever they work well together, SK can win games, and it's so important for them.
The reason they beat Unicorns of Love yesterday was that parallel convergence into 5-man Nod. They managed to grab themselves a kill. You can see SK earlier today taking down Rocket, so congratulations to them. Next up on our list, it's a man that, honestly, everybody keeps hearing from. It is Huni. He had another phenomenal performance. His Lulu today in particular was extravagant. I had a line where I said, there's nothing he can't do, and I stick to that.
I agree. I mean, Huni at the moment, best top lane and potentially the best player in the EU LCS. And I saw people yesterday talk about how Echo was OP, that's why Fnatic beat Origen. To me, honestly, it's just Huni who's so strong. We've seen Echo on different players now, and it's not been the same kind of performance as we saw from Huni. He's just so good. He deserves to be at the OP5 for sure. And he's almost there every week.
Yeah, that 1v1 on Youngbuck in particular is a particular favorite
And that was
of
just
mine.
Lulu, by the way.
And it's just Lulu, Assassin Lulu. He couldn't do it without the leadership of Yellow Star. 0-0-28. No deaths, another fantastic. He's leading Fnatic towards a 9-game winning streak. If they can pull it off next week against H2K. I think Yellow Star put together a fantastic team, and he's playing very well with his players.
You have to remember also the main shot caller of the team. So he's doing a lot more than just these great mechanical plays. We saw the save from the game yesterday where he managed to keep both Huni and Reckless alive. This guy, he can do everything. He's up there with Kasing as the 2 best supports we have in Europe at the moment. As long as he keeps playing like this, then Fnatic will stay undefeated.
Well, you talk about Kasing. He's our next OP5. Assisted 33 out of 35 kills for H2K this week, setting us up for that massive, massive game of the week next week between Fnatic and H2K. And, you know, Kasing, just exceptional performance. Yesterday, his death sentences. Today, his Alistair, a real playmaker from the support role.
Massive playmaker, also one of the shot callers. We keep highlighting it for him. It's a big deal, a big part of what he's doing for H2K. And the fact he just gets more and more confidence. He keeps going for these big plays, and they keep working for him. Great mechanics, and also just the fact that there are so many champions you have to take away from him. People need to be afraid of this Thresh pick here, but then suddenly the Alistar just comes in as one of these super strong picks. Like, what do? Do you start banning him out? Well, what about the rest of the members?
Force him onto Annie and hope he has a terrible game. It worked for Fnatic in the spring split. You might be getting the hint that Kasing is our week 4 MVP. He ended 4-0-29, even better stats than Yellowstar. 34 KDA. Like we said, the Thresh, the Alistar, 6 straight wins in a row, and Kasing may be leading H2K in the charge against Fnatic to challenge for the #1 spot in Europe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game here. It's going to be the real test for H2K. They lost to Origen earlier, so they have lost to one of the top 3 teams here in Europe. But with the way they're playing at the moment, if Kasing can make the big plays, if he can try and maybe shut down someone like Yellowstar and Reckless, H2K definitely has a chance to win that game. And then
Ryu has picked up MVP. Kasing has picked up MVP. If there was any team that was going to take down Fnatic, maybe it's H2K. We'll have to find out next week in that game of the week. For now, though, we're going to head back over to Shox and company at the desk, hopefully with a little less awkwardness, to look at the standings.
Whoa, flamey flame.
Hello. I do want to touch on that MVP, Kasing. Once again, he got it a couple of times last spring as well. Not enough Bard in there, though, Crepo.
Yeah, Bard has a surprisingly low winning win rate. It seems LCS has taken the loss of one of their prime supports pretty hard, and no good Bard plays so far.
Not yet. We'll see. Well, it's hard to believe, but we're almost halfway through the summer split already. And with that in mind, let's take a look at those standings. Fnatic, they are still undefeated in first, 8-0. H2K in second. Origen is down to third. And there, well, Gambit, they were on the rise, but were stopped today. What has been your guys' most interesting trend of the past 2 days?
My favorite trend, actually, that's a nice question. I just think H2K, just the rise of macro level gameplay. I think League of Legends played by the books, by the numbers, is just beautiful to watch, both in Fnatic and H2K. And, you know, it's getting a broken record almost. You know, yes, we're looking forward to that matchup. But I wonder if when those two styles clash, if we'll actually see a massive bloodbath, because both teams will just fight for these objectives so hard, and just looking forward to that.
Yes, actually, interestingly enough, next week we have the H2K Fnatic matchup, so we'll get to see Kasing versus Yellowstar as well. These two really, really hyped supports playing. It's going to be good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a week away. As said, the battle at the top of the tables continues next week as European LCS is going to get rolling on Thursday at 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time. That is 9 a.m. Pacific. As we see there, Fnatic versus H2K will be the 4th game. We also have Roccat versus Copenhagen Wolves, Unicorns of Love versus Giants, Elements versus SK, also a very interesting one at that. What matchup are you guys keeping an eye on?
Yeah, Elements SK is going to be interesting. Last game of the day right there, and just a lot of teams, they both want to prove something, right? Elements is slowly going down again, and then SK was on the up and up, but they will have to see if they can actually beat, you know, some of these lower standing teams like Elements sadly is right now. So definitely will be, I guess, a slightly lower level matchup, but that doesn't mean it can't be a good game.
Yeah, both fighting to come up in the standings. Until then, though, you'll have to get your LCS fix over in Los Angeles, where the North American show gets started tomorrow with Team Dignitas versus Team Impulse. TDK will square off against CLG, and then Liquid will try and keep their lead over Team Solo Mid. And of course, those games get started over at 9 p.m. Central European Time. That is noon Pacific. Well, that is it for another week of the European What is Happening League Championship Series. I'd like to thank Cyanide for his expert eye on the desk. And from myself, Crepo, and the rest of the LCS team, thank you for tuning in. And we'll meet you right back here next time.
Between Roccat and SK Gaming, both these teams, they need a win, that's for sure. Will take him down, but a double kill goes over to Fox. Is it going to be enough for him to end this fight and end this game? SK Gaming, that's 2 in a row. He gets the land dropped in the mid. That's the Polarize. Odo comes over the wall. Godfred desperately trying to keep him alive. H2K absolutely dominant. There it goes. Still running through. Devin providing extra fire. A double kill for Rainover. The Olaf is going wild. Fnatic an 8-0 start.
Why are they shouting Hune? Why are they not shouting freeze, freeze, freeze?
Maybe after the game.
Because you're bad.
Hello, boys.
I can't do that laugh. How to do it? Do it again. And look at me at the same time. With a straight face.
Diamond Prox gets the knocker. Cavachon is trying to trample him down, but he's not going to be able to find anyone.
I can flash. Okay. Have a volume. Lucian, nice.
keep going.
I'm dead.
Don't go more. Turret. And the Unicorns of Love will break their losing streak.
Hold on, I'm not there yet.
I'm not. I won't get anything.
I got it.
Holy, you're disgusting, by the way. You're disgusting.
FLICKR comes in. That's J-Well going on the onslaught of Shadow. Tab is deleted. Every single tower down. Origen close out the game.